Southeast Asia, a region to the east of India and south of China. This part is divided into two regions, mainland and archipelago. The archipelago contains thousands of islands. These islands are scattered over many square miles on the sea. Out of 332 known species of amphibians found in the Malay archipelago, more than 179 are amphibian species. Amphibians inhabit two different ecosystems. One of them is aquatic ecosystem and other one is the terrestrial ecosystem. But they inhabit one more ecosystem, and that is they hibernate themselves after the rainy season is over. This term is used even in computer science when the activities of computer they go for sleep for some period. We say that the computer is hibernating. Amphibians they bury themselves below the soil level, and they have an outstanding capacity to remain alive below the layer of soil, and they remain alive at least expenditure of metabolic energy. This is one of the important features amphibians have. Broadly, amphibians are classified into two types. The first one is those amphibians which have tails, like salamander, and those amphibians which lack tails, they are like frog and toads. Toads and frogs, they are placed in order Anura. Euro means tail and Anura means tailless. While the salamanders are placed in order Urodela or Chordata. Chorda means tail and Euro also means tail. Ata means possessing. For example, we say vertebrata or stomata. Stoma means pore. That structure possesses a pore on leaves, and that's why it is called stomata. Ata means possessing. The suffix ata means possessing, having, bearing. So they are classified into order Chordata. Chorda means tail. There are terms like Chorda equina. Equus means horse. In nervous system as well, and we say that the terminals of spinal nerves they go below the level of lumbar vertebrae, and they make a structure called cauda equina that resembles the horse's tail. This comes in anatomy also. Chordata is an order to which the tailed amphibians like salamander they belong. In 1983, there was a science fiction story published, and that was The Salamander Factor. Initially, the story was published in a Marathi newspaper, Maharashtra Times, and that was written by Shri Lakshman Londhe. Our Maharashtra, the region in which I stay, the Marathi region, it has a very good segment of Marathi writers who write science fictions. Shri Niranjan Ghate, Dr. Jayanta Naralikar, and many more. The story written by Shri Lakshman Londhe, that was Salamander Factor. In fact, if you see the period of 80s, early 80s, this is the period in which the science of lateral gene transfer, means the science of genetic engineering, transfer of gene from one cell to other cell, that was developing. In the early 2 decades, there was research on the plasmids, restriction endonucleases, and this made the this was the reason how scientists speculated the future when the genes could be transferred from one cell to other cell. And this story was all about that. Salamander has an extraordinary capacity of regeneration of lost organs. By some injury, if some part of the body of salamanders is broken, then that regenerates again. In fact, if you see the year 1983, it was almost 6 to 7 years before the animal genomes they could be mapped out in the DNA databases. And that was the time when in Maharashtra, the writers like Shri Lakshman Londhe, they were speculating the possibilities of, they were considering the possibilities of the lateral gene transfer from salamander cell to the human cell, so that some injured organ or lost organ that could regenerate again. This capacity of regeneration that could be simulated in humans by transfer of such genes. That was one of the beautiful science fictions written in Marathi. Amphibians have a good place in popular culture also. Many cartoons, many animations, many books, they have frog as a general character. While one more thing, if we see the classic literature, Sanskrit literature like Kalidasa's dramas or William Shakespeare's dramas, there is a notion of frog attached at many places we can find there. Kalidas has used the word dardur in Sanskrit. Dardur means a frog. Just like many Sanskrit words, they have different meanings. Even this word dardur has different meanings. Dardur means the voice of drums or croaking of frogs. Dardur dhvani is the word used for that in Sanskrit language. Kalidasa says that the voice of or the sound of wind hitting the Malay mountain at the beginning of rainy season is like Dardur Dhvani, where he uses this word in two meanings. One is before the rain, the frogs start croaking, and the second one is the voice, the sound of wind and the clouds hitting the mountain tips of Malaya. That is like Dardur Dhvani. So, in Sanskrit literature also, the notion of frog comes at various different places. In Rigveda, Rishi Vasishtha appeals to all other rishis to come together and sing the hymns of, sing the prayers of the god of rains, and that is compared in Rigveda with chanting of mantras, chanting of holy Vedic mantras by the rishis. There is one more aspect associated with amphibians, and that is their medicinal importance. Frogs inhabit inside the ponds, such ponds which have large populations of microorganisms, infectious protozoans and bacteria. Yet frog manages to live inside such ponds. So scientists started thinking, what exactly must be the reason the frogs remain safe inside such ponds? Is there any special histological feature or biochemical feature found in their skin? If we see the skin of frog, that resembles with our inner line of defense, that is the lining of digestive system. Frogs do not have exoskeleton. Like other organisms, in fishes we find scales, in birds we find feathers, in mammals we find hairs, in reptiles we find shells or scales. But exoskeleton is not found in frogs, in amphibians, because their skin secretes mucus, and that makes their body, that keeps their body wet and perhaps infection free also. Our digestive system, it has inner lining of mucosa, and that prevents the probable entry of microbes and acts as a physical barrier there. So scientists, they started researching the skin of frog. The human defense proteins, HDPs, do they resemble with some of the proteins in the cells of frogs' integument? Can some parallels be drawn so that can be further useful in pharmacology and in medicine, that can be used to treat some diseases? So frogs are used in medicine also. In zoological dissections also, they are widely used, they were widely used, and Here we come to one interesting question, that is the decline in the population of frogs. There is a rapid decline in the population of frogs. They are reducing, they are threatened, they are becoming extinct. So scientists started thinking about the reasons of extinction of frog, the amphibians. Hello friends, this is Lakshmi Raman Oza and you are watching SBTL webcasts. From tiny beautiful meadows to tall and mighty trees, nature has its own accent of aesthetics. Nearly the 50% of world GDP comes directly from nature. Grasses make an important part of nature. Almost every poet has praised the beauty of meadows. And they are so important from the point of view of modern science. Meadows belong to a single genus, Poa, which includes 500 different species. And here comes the name of grass family, that is Poaceae. Grasses belong to family Poaceae or also called Gramineae. The word Poaceae comes from the name of a genus present in family Poaceae, and that is Poa. Nearly 500 different species of grasses belong to this genus Poa in this Poaceae family. In Latin language, Graminae is grass, and that gives this family, grass family, the name Gramineae also. Grasses, they are important from the point of view of environment as well as an economic value. From the point of view of environment, they are important because grasses have smaller leafy blades growing above the level of soil. They are much flexible, they are herbaceous, they are weaker. So when there is a runoff of water during the rainy season, they filter the water and they let that water to pass because of their flexibility. A great saint from Maharashtra, Shri Tukaram Maharaj, he says that at the time of massive floods, the arrogant and tall trees, they are carried away. But the humble grasses, which are flexible, they remain in that period. They hold their place. Grasses are herbaceous. They are having weaker stems. Their roots, they are fibrous and they hold the soil very firmly. Grasses are called prasrita in Sanskrit language, means those which spread on transverse scale, horizontal way. There are vegetative parts just near the junction of root and shoot in grasses. They emerge in transverse manner. They are called runners, or they are also called stolons. They grow in transverse manner. This results into a rapid growth of the grasses in transverse manner. The English word for that is prostrate growth. And that is the reason grasses are important, because they spread rapidly over the surface of land. They hold firmly the upper layer of soil, and hence they are important from the point of view of soil health. They hold the soil at the position. They prevent the erosion of soil taking place. There is one more word called trunadruma in reference to grasses that comes in Sanskrit language. Grasses are weak, herbaceous, right? But there are some grasses which grow taller. For example, sugarcane, or you can take example of reeds or bamboos. They grow tall, and that is why they are called truna druma in Sanskrit language. Druma means tree and truna is grass. Now, sugarcane is economically important because sugarcane is the main source of sugar we consume as a commodity, and India stands at second place in production of sugarcane. It is one of the important crops taken in the agricultural context in India. One more thing, the reeds or bamboos, they are also economically important. In recent days, India is growing bamboos as a source of fuel also. Reeds are thinner in comparison to bamboos. These reeds, they vary in their diameter. In earlier times, people used to make pens for writing from those hollow reeds. And the second thing is, in music industry also, in music sector also, the reeds have various different diameters, and the flutes are made from these reeds. Those have various different diameters. Flutes also have various different diameters, and various different types of reeds have been described in history of Indian music, which have various different tonalities. Reference of reed in India comes in the writing of Herodotus, a Greek philosopher, historian. In the year 435 before Christ, 435 years before Christ, he has mentioned that Indians use weapons made of reeds. They make bows from reeds, and their arrows have iron tip. Now, presence of iron tip to the arrows, almost you can say 2800 years ago in India, it points towards the metallurgy that developed as a science in India that time. And the second thing that is associated with writings of Herodotus, that is, he has mentioned about cotton, Indian cotton. He says Indian people wear a garment that is made from fine cotton trees. Linnaeus mentioned this in his species Plantarum, and he defined that species, he gave the binomial name as Gossypium arboreum. Now, this cotton that was grown in India, that we can see even in the archaeological context also. In the Harappan civilization, cotton was taken as an important crop approximately 7,500 years ago. So, this reference, this points towards the antiquity of cotton as a crop in India. Cotton is important in Indian history from all points of view. May it be the colonization of Mughals in India or British in India. Just like hibiscus, cotton is a plant that belongs to family Malvaceae. It is classified as Marudbhava in Sanskrit language in Vrikshayurveda. Maru means desert or arid zone, and Udbhava means it is born there. This plant grows in dry land with a great drought tolerance. If we compare animal cell with plant cell, then animal cells do not have any cell wall around the plasma membrane, cell membrane. But plant cells, they have a cell wall largely made of an organic compound called cellulose. Cellulose is most abundant organic compound found on earth. That is because all plant cells have cell wall composed mainly of cellulose. In cotton, the seed coat that produces long fibers. Cotton is an oil seed plant. It contains rounded seeds and the surface of seed that produces cellulose in pure form. That makes this plant very special. In Sanskrit language, Cotton is called karpas, or it is also called sutra pataka. Sutra means thread and pataka is something that makes cloth. The journey of fiber to fabric is a story of India's heritage. After the invasion of Ghaznavi and Ghori, India and its economy ended up becoming feeble. Even the literature and basic skill sets that was the foundation of blindingly bright history of India took a pity turn. In fact, most skills, those were USPs of India, were attributed to the repulsive powers those attacked this peaceful nation. The vague attributions of innovations is one of the reasons why India needed a political change in 21st century that could reclaim its lost glory.